I had so much fun over there. I feel guilty. However, it seems that he will not be content with the status quo. Men are ultimately driven by ambition. She thought carefully that he is so unruly now, so it's possible that he will cause trouble in the future. She needs to enhance his ability to protect himself and ensure his safety. No, how could she start to care about his comfort on her own? Thinking of this, Chi Amethyst blushed and comforted herself quietly in her heart. This is to protect myself, for the safety of my own body. She recalled the weapons she had previously used underwater on Earth. Humans on Earth, although they do not cultivate spiritual power. However, they are not completely weak. If the shortcut artifact forging method is used with techniques and art to drive it, it might not only give Lin Fan some self-protection power, but could also be used as a surprise killer move in future battles. However, I can't make this new gimmick myself. I need to ask the artifact refining master at the Dan sect for help. She immediately took action. Chi Amethyst, who pushed open the door, also wanted to bring 2 maids along to explore. But the 2 of them are still studying for the exam. This is also a rare learning opportunity for them. Forget it, I'll go by myself. So she instructed the 2 to carefully contemplate in the room. I'm going to visit the Dan sect. The maids were a bit puzzled upon hearing this. Didn't you just go there? Why go again? Late at night, the table in the room is filled with various specialized chemical containers. The alcohol lamp is still heating an unknown liquid. A man is grinding some kind of medicinal herb, and he continues to grind for a while. Lin Fan looks up at the ingredient list posted on the wall: pearl powder, stiff silkworm, and sour jujube kernel. Items like saffron. This looks pretty simple. But the problem is, how much is in moderation? How much is a little? And what about coloring? What does 70% heat mean, and how large is a gentle heat flame? It's difficult to understand empirical knowledge. With a bang, Lin Fan directly knocked over the medicine pestle. He looked at the scattered powder on the table. Ah, this is all the result of his hard work. He should quickly clean up. These things should not be thrown around. It was all slowly ground out, after all. Darn it, does Dan refining have to be done with ready-made materials? A moment later, Jo Nana knocked on Lin Fan's door. She gestured for him to hurry up and open the door. The burnt smell had provoked complaints from the neighbors. Ugh, why do I have to come knock on the door so late at night? Hurry up and open it. She knocked for a while, but there was no response. But the smell kept wafting out from the room. Could it be that he forgot to turn off the stove while cooking? This is a serious problem. The wealthy woman took out a large bunch of keys to try to open the door. Oh, not this keychain. Got it wrong again. After struggling for a while, she finally opened the door. The unpleasant smell was really overpowering. Jo Nana covered her nose and went in to investigate. Lin Fan, in front of a pile of containers and test tubes, was scraping white powder with a bank card. Wow, this move, combined with Lin Fan's lewd expression, shocked Jo Nana. She directly called 999 for assistance. No, don't. My life, Sister Nana, listen to my explanation. Then he grabbed Jo Nana's hand. He hastily shouted, Sister Nana, you've misunderstood. It's not like that. Jo Nana, who was furious, didn't listen. I won't listen. I won't listen. I kindly rented the house to you cheaply, and you're doing this in my house. The more she spoke, the more worked up she became. Thinking about it carefully, it's not surprising for a man who gets into fights at the bar to do such things. It's all fake. Scammer. Despicable man. Well, Lin Fan said that I got beaten up because I stood up for you back then. He saw that the situation was starting to go wrong. Lin Fan, hard ruthless, directly countered Jo Nana's hands. I already said it's not what you think. I'm Dan refining. Don't speak nonsense. With a thud, the force of the counter made Jo Nana cry out in pain. The warm posture made both sides fall into silence. Jo Nana asked with confusion, Dan refining? The two of them sat in the living room to clear up the misunderstanding. It was Lin Fan's turn for a brainstorming session. He immediately had an idea. It's the jade skin Dan. It can whiten and nourish the skin. Haven't you noticed that my skin has gotten better? At the first hearing, Jo Nana did find something different. Lin Fan's skin is even whiter than hers. And it's also delicate, smooth, and elastic. Although I am older than you by a few years, and I take care of my skin every day, it doesn't make sense that I am worse off than you. A big man, right? Seeing Sister Nana fall for it, Lin Fan immediately confirmed, saying it is the effect of the Dan pill. Seeing Jo Nana still having some concerns, Lin Fan directly introduced his Dan refining formula. With a wave of his hand, he pointed to the pearl powder on the table, saying, "All this is prepared for Dan refining." Looking at Jo Nana, who was grinding the powder, Lin Fan was sweating profusely. Although it was a lie I came up with on the spot, the one being refined indeed has the effect of whitening and nourishing the skin, the jade skin Dan. Dan Shinzi gave me the basic recipe for it. There are actually several corresponding medicinal herbs that can be found on Earth. But many of these medicinal herbs are not available in regular pharmacies. So he can only start by trying the accessible single herbs first. Jade Skin Dan is an entry-level Dan pill that can be achieved using commonly found medicinal herbs. Suddenly, Jo Nana, with a dark face, stared at Lin Fan, making Lin Fan feel uneasy. I saw Sister Nana blush and say shyly, "Can you give me some of this jade skin Dan that you have?" Lin Fan immediately stood up from the stool. He opened the rice cooker to show Jo Nana his work, which left Sister Nana puzzled. Why would Dan refining be in the rice cooker? And there was a black, sticky substance in the rice cooker. This caused the two of them to be speechless. Lin Fan secretly wondered why he had been marinating for so long and still hadn't solidified. Lin Fan picked up a bowl of black, pasty substance and handed it to Jo Nana. He turned his head awkwardly and said, "This is jade skin Dan. Oh no, jade skin kanji." Jo Nana once again confirmed with Lin Fan. "Is this the thing that can help whiten the skin?" He lied and had to reluctantly stick to his story. Lin Fan weakly affirmed, "Yes." Saintess has just entered the Dan sect. The disciples immediately set off firecrackers and presented flowers as a greeting. Everyone kept saying, "Welcome, VIP member Saintess Dan sect, Chi Amethyst, has arrived." This confused Chi Amethyst about what VIP member is. On the side, someone took on the role of welcoming and said, "I will go inform Senior Brother Dan to wait in the VIP lounge for a moment. Your Highness, Saintess, please come with me." This enthusiastic gesture made Chi Amethyst curious about what Lin Fan was up to, and why everyone had this attitude. Along the way, the streets of the Dan sect, which used to be very quiet, were bustling and lively at this moment. There were vendors selling blood ginseng, selling birds' nests, and even selling Dan furnaces. Everyone was talking about buying things to earn points and mentioning discounts for members. She looked at the bustling street with people coming and going. The terms mentioned by those vendors were all unique to Lin Fan's side. The usually deserted Dan sect has unexpectedly become so lively. Could it be all because of Lin Fan's doing? She arrived at the Dan sect reception hall. Dan Shinzi, looking like a junior, invited Chi Amethyst to take a seat. He shouted for the disciples to quickly serve tea. Without waiting for Chi Amethyst to speak, Dan Shinzi guesses the Saintess's intentions on his own. "You came to see me this time to claim the bonus we discussed last time, right?" Chi Amethyst looked puzzled. "Last time? Bonus?" But Chi Amethyst affirmed that it didn't sound like a bad thing. This trip was for this purpose. I saw Dan Shinzi handing over a big bag of spiritual stones with both hands, which is the previously promised earnings of 825 spiritual stones. Please count them. Dan Shinzi, who has earned money, is overjoyed. He quickly said, "Many thanks to the wise advice of the Saintess. The kindness of the Saintess to the Dan sect goes far beyond just money. I, Dan Shinzi, understand this in my heart. In the future, I am willing to serve the Saintess tirelessly and unhesitatingly." Chi Amethyst felt a little overwhelmed by the weight of this big bag of spiritual stones. Originally, she thought to herself, I must have won that 100,000 bounty. She no longer had to look at his color from then on. Unexpectedly, this happened. He is going to show off even more now, isn't he? I'm not convinced. I must earn even more bounty. Make Lin Fan feel ashamed too. Then she suddenly realized something was not right. It shouldn't be. She stubbornly said she has never felt ashamed either. A moment later, under the insinuation of Chi Amethyst, she finally understood the series of measures that Lin Fan had taken here. She directly admitted that this amazing move was created by her own Dao. Dan Shinzi directly praised the leader as wise, and the style suddenly changed. Chi Amethyst mentioned the purpose of this trip. She has something to trouble Dan brother. Without saying a word, Dan Shinzi, considering himself her top lackey, immediately took over. He could handle anything. Chi Amethyst opened the parchment and found a drawing of a pistol on it. She then said, This artifact sketch was drawn by me when I was inspired. I would like to ask Dan brother from Dan's Sects Artifact Forging Pavilion to help me attempt to craft it. I am not very clear about the specific operational principles yet. In general, the explosive energy is compressed inside the projectile, ignited by a spark, and then released instantly at the exit, achieving a speed and power increase of 100-fold. Ah, when I heard this, Dan is clear in his heart, and no one is more familiar with it than him. This is a blasting Dan furnace, isn't it? Ah? This sounds even more confused about Chi Amethyst. How does this relate? Dan Shinzi directly took the bet, handed it to him, exploded the Dan furnace. No one in the entire immortal cultivation world has more experience than me. Chi Amethyst instantly felt that this person had such a serious illness. This black thing is actually the jade skin kanji that whitens the skin. Although the maker doesn't believe it, it really has this effect. After using it, Sho Nana's skin radiated with a youthful glow. The delicate and fair skin proved the effectiveness of this kanji. Lin Fan was also secretly delighted. The first experiment unexpectedly succeeded. Her skin visibly became fairer and better. She was indeed amazing. Jo Nana curiously asked, Did you make this yourself? Lin Fan, in order to keep it a secret, had to say it was an ancestral secret recipe. Jo Nana felt that it was very effective, but admitted that it did not look good. She asked him what he planned to do with this medicine. Lin Fan himself doesn't have any plans in mind, not knowing what its uses are. Jo Nana was only seen sitting on the sofa with her feet up, exuding the air of a big boss as she said, Just sell the medicine to her. Lin Fan innocently asked Jo Nana that she can take it whenever she needs it. But the highly capable business-savvy Jo Nana is not limited to just that. She wants the right to sell the product. She intends to be the exclusive distributor herself. Lin Fan, seeing the fish take the bait, is laughing inside. She was just worried about how to monetize, but now the opportunity has come to her. Jo Nana's financial strength is probably more than just these few buildings, and she is reliable and has some connection with me. It's really the best choice. Seeing Lin Fan remaining silent, Jo Nana thought that he might not believe in her capabilities. She immediately guaranteed that she had plenty of connections, and was not worried about being unable to sell it. I only saw Jo Nana holding her phone in the most beautiful pose, which is taking a selfie. After a series of click-click sounds, she typed on the keyboard swiftly. Post on Instagram. Not long after, Jo Nana's comment prompt rang. In just a short while, the number of comments has reached 99+. They are all her little sisters asking for ways to become fair-skinned. Jo Nana proudly showed Lin Fan her own phone. Her impressive network also stunned Lin Fan, who exclaimed, Amazing! Back to the Violet Palace. As Dan Shinzi escorted Chi Amethyst out, he promised confidently, Rest assured, Saintess. Leave this to me, I will definitely satisfy you. Chi Amethyst nodded twice in agreement. On the way back, Chi Amethyst wondered if Danshinzi truly understood the artifact she wanted. After all, modern weapons were like a mystery to her. At this moment, there were two light coughs from behind. Yukiana awkwardly called out, "Amethyst's junior sister," and Lin Fan. Different from Lin Fan, Chi Amethyst merely greeted Yukiana politely. Yukiana felt puzzled as to why she was not addressed as senior sister this time. But she couldn't help but tell her that she had also obtained a top-quality void refining dan. Upon hearing this, Chi Amethyst understood that Lin Fan had also contacted her. Finding it troublesome, she couldn't help but curse someone for doing unnecessary things. She then coldly responded with a sound and elegantly turned around, leaving with indifference. Yukiana thought back to when Lin Fan candidly told her not to underestimate herself. The efforts everyone puts into becoming immortal are equally precious. She gritted her teeth and shouted to Chi Amethyst, "We are now on the same starting line." She said she would double her efforts to cultivate, and would never lose to Chi Amethyst. And Chi Amethyst just disdainfully mocked her, saying it's a joke. Yukiana has never, and will never be on the same starting line as herself at any time. After saying that, she smiled slightly and said, "It's your freedom to choose who you want to compete with. You want to be my opponent." The Yukiana stood still for a moment in a daze, but in her heart she thought that her willfulness was still quite lovely. The scene shifted back to the sect, where several disciples were gathered together discussing how the Saintess had reviewed and provided detailed feedback on everyone's papers. Not only that, but she also helped each person to review their chi circulation method and fill in any gaps. As they chatted, tears welled up in the eyes of the crowd. The Saintess, who had worked hard to compete with the saints in cultivation, still found time to guide them. The group made a determined effort to strive in their immortal cultivation. They would repay the Saintess, whom they loved dearly, with the best results. Chi Amethyst returned to her own room, pondering when Danshinzi could refine it. Before that, she was still worried about Lin Fan's ability to protect herself, and there were crises everywhere on Earth. Although inner power is a good starting point, it ultimately cannot escape from the physical body. But luckily she's here. The scene shifts as Lin Fan is coming out of the bank. Jo Nana is in the car talking on the phone and effortlessly helps Lin Fan buy those medicinal herbs. It turns out that she has a close friend who is in the business of selling Chinese medicinal herbs. Although the medicine Lin Fan was looking for is indeed hard to find, since Jo Nana offered, she also agreed for her close friend to send her a few bottles of jade skin kanji. Her close friend also readily agreed, which solved Lin Fan's problem with the ingredients. Jo Nana asked Lin Fan again how she planned to set prices and supply goods. Lin Fan said she would like Sister Nana to help with pricing reference. In terms of supply, she plans to only provide 2 to 3 packages at a time. Jo Nana praised, saying, "This is very clever. Jade skin kanji is completely different from other products, both effective and not easily imitated. This way, it can prevent short-term depreciation." After speaking, she saw the envelope in Lin Fan's hand and asked him, "What are you doing with that?" Lin Fan replied, "This is a partial prepayment from Sister Nana. He wants to send some money back home, but his parents don't use mobile payment. He's afraid they will worry if he sends too much money at once." Lin Fan's mature behavior made Sister Nana couldn't help but feel delighted. A hint of smile appeared at the corner of her mouth. Lin Fan also transferred Chi Amethyst's money to her phone, making her activities on Earth more convenient. Next time, he can stand tall and boldly tell Chi Amethyst that he didn't touch her money. Under the deep and dark sky, Violet Palace Saintess followed Lord of the Sacred Domain to the Forbidden Land Sherfu and told her, "The path of immortal cultivation only values talent, regardless of background. However, the journey of immortal cultivation is not smooth. Sherfu hopes that she can soon rid herself of mortal desires." Because of Master's words, she took it as a life motto and developed it into her future personality. Her right path only leads to higher stages. At this moment, the voice of Shifu sounds in her ears. Chi Amethyst's face has also changed from a child's to her current appearance. Our agreement is always for my future preparation to obtain the great Tao, the path of immortal cultivation. The one who climbs higher wins, and in order to climb to the peak, both you and I must do whatever it takes. Suddenly, the figure in front of her transformed into the appearance of Lin Fan. The scene suddenly changes. Lin Fan, who was sitting on the sofa, opened his eyes to reveal Chi Amethyst's purple pupils. At this moment, Chi Amethyst returned to Lin Fan's body on Earth. She saw the message on the phone that Lin Fan intentionally left her. I didn't touch your money. I even stored the money for you in the phone. Let's keep our accounts separate. He also reminded Chi Amethyst not to mess with the thing she made, the jade-skinned Dan. Chi Amethyst hummed lightly and said, Consider him having some manners. She then called iPair to order takeout to satisfy her hunger. With the modern technology on Earth, Chi Amethyst has become more and more adept at using it. She complained about the strong smell of medicine in the house, which had completely ruined her appetite. She is ready to depart by the private car she booked through iPair. Inside the taxi, the driver uncle reminded the passengers to fasten their seat belts, but was rebuffed by Chi Amethyst's "It can't hurt me" response. The driver uncle was quite speechless and expressed silent thoughts. The driver heard that Chi Amethyst was going to the lakeside park. The driver uncle kindly reminded her that the place is not very safe. Recently, a fugitive was caught there. To everyone's surprise, Chi Amethyst straightforwardly said that she was the one who caught that fugitive. The driver uncle looked puzzled. After the taxi arrived at the destination, he reminded Chi Amethyst to take care of her belongings, as he usually reminds every passenger. The driver was so scared when he didn't even finish his sentence, and Chi Amethyst was nowhere to be seen. He thought he had picked up a ghost in such a place in the middle of the night. In the park, a popular internet celebrity is live streaming a midnight adventure by the lake in the park. She mysteriously tells the audience that this place has a heavy atmosphere, with supernatural events often happening at night. Just 2 days ago, a vicious fugitive was caught here. However, tonight, Tiny Strawberry will take everyone on an adventure together. Afterwards, she playfully acts cute and asks the audience to send gifts by showering her with love in front of the camera. But the tiny strawberry outside of the phone is hunched over, dark-faced, completely different from the cute and sweet image in the live stream room. This is clearly a man. He looks at the free gift sent by the audience. Tiny Strawberry is complaining in his heart that these stingy guys only watch without giving money. It's hard for him to be live streaming in this ghostly place in the middle of the night. However, he still looks charming in the picture. Not until the audience noticed that there was a person behind him, the person then jumped into the lake with a splash. Even Tiny Strawberry couldn't hold back this time. He exclaimed, "Holy crap!" And although he quickly tried to cover it up by saying he was super scared, he couldn't hide the fact that everyone heard his true feelings and found out he was a man. However, more of the audience clearly paid more attention to the person who had just jumped into the lake. The crowd didn't know whether that was a person or a ghost. The protagonist who caused everyone to panic and become chaotic is Chi Amethyst, who looks exactly like our Lin Fan. She was seen diving into the lake, searching for the place in her memory. There was a dried-up spiritual acupoint. Although the spiritual chi here had become so thin that ordinary people could not perceive it at all, she, who was familiar with the ways of spiritual chi flow, could easily identify it at a glance. Chi Amethyst felt puzzled that there had once been spiritual chi on Earth. However, she quickly gave up the idea of further contemplation. If she hadn't discovered this place, I'm afraid that the spiritual chi would have dissipated before long. She needs to seize the opportunity. Within the sect, she once saw a book called Aqueous Body. It is a body-tempering cultivation method that enhances oneself through the flow of water. But for the basic level of body tempering, one just needs to practice by circulating their own chi according to the natural flow of spiritual chi. Here, although the spiritual acupoint has withered, it still retains traces of the flow of spiritual Chi. It happens that you can manipulate Chi, and using Lin Fan's inner power is more than suitable for yourself. On a windy night at the Amethyst Mansion, the wind rustled through. The picture stone in the room made a sound. I already know about your visit to the Dan sect. Dan Shinzi's dividends are all in the storage pouch. Lin Fan looked at the storage pouch on the table with a smug look. How about this? This is much more profitable than catching fugitives, right? His nose was almost up in the sky. The Chi Amethyst in the photo suddenly pointed towards a spot. It seems to be the time when I didn't know how to absorb the spiritual power from the large bowl of spiritual fruit I ate. What did you do to it? Chi Amethyst demanded. Then won't I have to cultivate spiritual herb only on Earth? And once I have spiritual herb, won't I be able to refine the celestial Dan that Dan Xingzi taught me? Thinking about this, Lin Fan had already put aside how to explain the situation of this potted plant. No, if I can cultivate spiritual herb. Even if the Earth gradually awakens spiritual power, it is not an impossible thing. A lake suddenly makes a loud splashing sound. In this way, Lin Fan's physical body has also stepped into the door of immortal cultivation. Although he lacks spiritual power, relying on this physical body alone is enough to deal with some crisis. Chi Amethyst sensed the ominous aura behind him. What she saw, however, was full of fierceness. Wu Guodong, who was eating instant noodles during the night shift, suddenly heard someone calling his name from behind. He turned around and couldn't help but feel puzzled, asking, How did you get in? I noticed that your window is not closed. With a loud bang, the coffin was opened. Chi Amethyst simply asked, Is there a bounty on this thing? Wu Guodong had not yet recovered from the previous scene. The sudden appearance of the ancient corpse stirred up the police station. While Chi Amethyst, the one who caused all this, sat in the office calmly eating a meat bun. Wu Guodong said Chi Amethyst away, with a serious look on his face. He doesn't seem like a young man of his age at all, Wu Guodong said, as he pushed Chi Amethyst out. I didn't expect Chi Amethyst, with this appearance, to say that she came to pick clothes for herself. Lin Fan from Amethyst Manor is still contemplating how to implement his spiritual herb transformation plan. Wait a while, and the water will no longer be hot. Lin Fan, who is struggling with inner conflict, is becoming increasingly red in the face. Chi Amethyst, who is dressed in women's clothing from head to toe, is admiring this outfit in front of the full-length mirror. Has been scrapped long ago. I'm here to help my sister pick up the goods. After she opened the door, a man with pink hair was standing at the doorway. Bro! The man almost called him the wrong name because he was so shocked. Lin Fan then realized that he had just cooked a pot of jade skin congee before the last beating and sold it to Sister Nana. So he asked Zhou Qiqi to wait for a moment, and he floated over to pick up the goods. Oops. Did I stumble upon some earth-shattering secret? Lin Fan, with this shocked look on his face, stood there dumbfounded, lost in thought. Let Sister Nana hold on to it first. Lin Fan, in his long skirt, unaware of his own actions, carried himself so naturally with every gesture he made. It turns out he had been wearing a cute and tender pink long skirt all along. Thinking of this, Lin Fan picked up his phone to see what messages Chi Amethyst had left for him. He then discovered a note on the table that had been pinned down by several packages from deliveries. Chi Amethyst explained in the letter that she used Lin Fan's body to cultivate the aqueous body technique. She used the inner power within Lin Fan's body as the source of power for this cultivation method. Below the letter, the mantra for the aqueous body was written. When Lin Fan fully comprehends it, he will be able to wield this power freely. Seeing the benefits that Chi Amethyst has brought to herself, he temporarily stopped quarreling with her about the cross-dressing matter. However, he thought about it. But I was seen by someone. It was someone I just met for the first time. Thinking about what happened just now, Lin Fan felt like crying but had no tears to shed. He pushed open the glass door of the backyard, and this will be the birthplace of my earth immortal cultivation, Lin Fan said confidently. Should be able to as expected. The morning sunlight streamed through Lin Fan's window. Outside, sparrows chirped on the balcony railing. Lin Fan, who was already awake, stretched lazily and got out of bed. Let me see if my ginseng plants have turned into spiritual herbs. Lin Fan walked to the courtyard and pushed open the door. The scene before him filled him with great delight. Wow, they have all grown so big. It seems to be really effective. Lin Fan then grabbed a ginseng plant and pulled it out with all his might. With a loud pop, a thick and sturdy ginseng plant was pulled out. Upon seeing this radish-like ginseng, Lin Fan fell into silence. Is this thing still ginseng? Are you sure it's not a radish? Whether it's observed from the eyes, nose, or mouth, it is just a larger version of ginseng. Lin Fan, who never gives up, tasted every ginseng and officially announced the failure of the spiritual farmland experiment. Fortunately, the production of jade skin kanji can be increased a bit. It seems that real spiritual chi is still needed. Lin Fan is trapped in the philosophical question of which came first, the chicken or the egg. If only there were immortal cultivators on Earth who could help me, that would be great. Thinking of this, Lin Fan suddenly awakened and touched the Chi Amethyst. Lin Fan, who was filled with hope again, immediately found his phone and prepared to leave a message. I should have thought to ask Chi Amethyst. This Saintess must know a lot. How come this phone won't turn on even after charging it all night? No wonder she had to leave a message on paper. The phone must be broken. Why is there a fishy smell again? Lin Fan, who smelled the odor, approached the phone. He immediately remembered that he had the same smell on him yesterday. Could it be that the phone got wet? Damn it, Chi Amethyst! As if hearing Lin Fan's roar, Chi Amethyst, who had returned to his own body, also opened his eyes. Golden leaves covered the entire wall, with tender purple strawberries hanging underneath. Chi Amethyst was stunned by the scene before his eyes. Every time he came back, he would bring her some surprises. Lin Fan always makes people worry, Chi Amethyst said helplessly. Then, with just a wave of her hand, swish, the wall full of strange strawberries disappeared. It's strange to say that even though Lin Fan is always fooling around, every time he comes back, he can clearly feel that he has become much stronger. Since that's the case, let him be. I also need to hurry up and finish what I've left unfinished. Ever since Chi Amethyst acquired the fortune teller's heavenly derivation art, her actions on Earth have become much more convenient. However, Chi Amethyst has become increasingly uncomfortable. Therefore, as soon as she returned to the immortal cultivation world, she immediately set off by boat to find the fortune teller. Fortune teller, who anticipated Chi Amethyst's visit, personally came out to meet her. Fortune teller has been staying indoors ever since she calculated Chi Amethyst's fate last time. Chi Amethyst was immediately received when she visited today. I wonder what mysterious event is happening again. After taking a sip of hot tea, Chi Amethyst went straight to the point and said, I was rude to offer you the pure yang jade pendant in exchange for your divination skills that day. After using it for some time, I realized how profound the heavenly derivation art is. No other pure yang jade pendant can compare to it. Your Majesty, the Saintess, you are too kind. The fortune teller didn't think it was a big deal. Just as he was about to make an excuse, he was interrupted. However, I, Chi Amethyst, have never owed anyone any favors. Since it is a matter of technique and art, I will repay with technique and art. I didn't expect Chi Amethyst to be so dominant. Fortune teller was also taken aback. The scene shifted to Dan Shinzi's home, where Dan Shinzi was counting the spiritual stones he had earned these days with drool hanging from his mouth, one by one. 26,829, 26,830. Perfect! Just enough to make up a whole number. Thanks to Lin Fan's short few days, Dan Shinzi earned so many spiritual stones. Just as he was immersed in the beautiful time engulfed by spiritual stones. With a bang, the door was pushed open. Danshinzi was startled, thinking that a thief had come. Seeing that it was fortune teller who had come, Danshinzi was so startled that he hurriedly covered his spiritual stone. Fong Wu, senior brother, what are you trying to do? As if afraid of them being taken away by him. Fortune teller gasped for breath and said, Junior brother, can you lend me your Dan furnace for a moment? He rushed over urgently to borrow the Dan furnace. Danshinzi is now puzzled. What does a fortune teller like you need my Dan furnace for? I want you to use the Samadhi true fire to refine me, said the fortune teller with a serious expression. Danshinzi still didn't understand the meaning of this, and remained silent for a long time. What? What? Are you asking me to throw you into the Dan furnace and roast you with the Samadhi true fire? Are you crazy? Danshinzi looked at the fortune teller incredulously. I am serious. Even if you don't believe me, you should believe in the Saintess. It turned out that he had come this time to cultivate the Chi Amethyst technique, an art passed down to him. As long as I enter the Dan furnace and practice with the Samadhi true fire for 49 days, I will be able to make further progress, the fortune teller said earnestly. Saintess Highness? Danshinzi still had some doubts, so the fortune teller began to tell the story of what happened that day. Chi Amethyst explained at the time that she had learned an extraordinary pupil art through a series of fortunate events. This pupil art is called Fiery Golden Eyes. The fortune teller has never heard of this spell, and can't help but raise doubts. Fiery golden eyes can discern good from evil. When distinguishing between truth and falsehood and mastering the art to perfection, even if it is the miasma of heaven and earth or endless chaos, the heavenly Tao patterns cannot obstruct its vision. This pupil art may complement the fortune teller's heavenly derivation art, allowing him to see through reality at a glance and enhancing his deduction abilities, like giving wings to a tiger. After listening to Chi Amethyst's description, the fortune teller had an incredulous expression on his face. He couldn't believe that there was such a magical technique in the world. He immediately rushed to find Danshinzi to learn and cultivate it without delay. After knowing the reason, Danshinzi, though already believed in it. But as Dan alchemist, how could he not know the danger of Samadhi true fire? He is very worried about what might happen. The fortune teller also guessed his worries. Don't worry, if anything happens, I will take full responsibility myself and won't involve you at all. Danshinzi was relieved to hear this. Senior brother, where are these words from? I naturally believe in your character. However, with your dangerous cultivation method, you are bound to get injured. Here, I have some healing Dan pills. I can't believe Danshinzi is so considerate of himself. Fortune teller's attitude towards him has also changed a lot. I used to think he only cared about spiritual stones, but I didn't expect him to be so humane. Junior brother, I will remember this friendship in my heart. However, fortune teller was touched for only a short while. Just then, Danshinzi reached out his hand and said, Senior brother, don't be polite. It's a total of 800 spiritual stones. It turns out I was thinking too much. Danshinzi is indeed as renowned as rumored. That's how fortune teller got cheated out of 800 spiritual stones. Lin Fan's home is already. Lin Fan's Chi Amethyst just returned to Earth and was about to order some takeout. Ding dong, you have a pending video message to play. Chi Amethyst picked up the phone and saw a resentful face. Chi Amethyst opened the video silently. Firstly, you are not allowed to dress in woman's clothing using my body again. Secondly, phones cannot be exposed to water. A phone that gets wet will break. I have already replaced the new phone for you and charged it to your account. Lin Fan, who was originally reprimanding about the various incidents encountered last time, suddenly changed his expression. He hesitantly said, There is one more thing I wanted to ask you. I want to refine spiritual herb on earth, but without spiritual power to nurture them, I cannot cultivate spiritual plants, thus unable to refine them. Do you have any solutions? Refining spiritual herb on earth? You must be thinking of practicing immortal cultivation on earth. Chi Amethyst had already guessed about this matter. She was not surprised at all by what she said to Lin Fan, but practicing immortal cultivation in a world completely devoid of spiritual chi is almost impossible. However, when she thought about the cultivation she did in the lake last time, she realized that the earth might not be completely devoid of spiritual chi. If she could find some remaining spiritual chi and make use of it, she might really be able to cultivate immortality on earth. Just thinking about it. Chi Amethyst immediately asked iPair to record a video message for her. But this new phone is clearly good. She has been calling for a long time without any response, just when she kept calling iPair. Suddenly, there was a series of knocking sounds outside the door. Lin Fan, are you home? Joe Nana anxiously knocked on the door. The phone is not reachable, and he doesn't reply to messages. Joe Nana is worried that Lin Fan might be in trouble, so she hurriedly ran over to find him. With a click, the door opened, and Sister Nana, who was leaning on the door, almost fell into Chi Amethyst's arms. Suddenly, a woman came to the door. Chi Amethyst was startled for a moment before reacting. This was Lin Fan's landlord, Joe Nana. Is there something you need? Chi Amethyst asked in confusion. Joe Nana asked in concern. What happened to your phone? I've been trying to call you, but couldn't get through. Chi Amethyst explained that her previous phone broke down, and she got a new one. Suddenly she remembered, this was a new phone. Does this phone not have iPair anymore? Now it was Chi Amethyst's turn to worry. Joe Nana asked in confusion. iPair? The voice assistant? Since you have changed your phone, of course it's not iPair anymore, Chi Amethyst replied. Let me see. Isn't this assistant called Hiri? After I said Hiri, she immediately responded. Here, I don't really use voice assistants much. They're not very smart, she said as she finished and handed the phone back to Chi Amethyst. Learning that iPair was no longer available, a complex mix of emotions surged in Chi Amethyst's heart. Memories from the past flashed through her mind one by one. In fact, she had long sensed that whether it was iPair or Hiri, they were just virtual creations of Earth's technology, not true intelligent beings. It was time for her to learn to let go, as she had been unwilling to face reality all along. That batch of goods you released last time was very popular. They were sold out as soon as they were shelved. Looks like you need to improve your efficiency a bit. How about it? Do you have any new goods for me? Chi Amethyst, who had just fallen into a sad state, was suddenly interrupted by Joe Nana. She looked over and noticed a kind of wonder in the jade pendant around Joe Nana's neck. Swish! Chi Amethyst grabbed Joe Nana in one go. She stared at the jade pendant on her chest, and this sudden move made Joe Nana a little embarrassed. She blushed and looked at Lin Fan. What's wrong? Although small, but still vaguely visible. Chi Amethyst's strange actions, coupled with his ambiguous words, caused Joe Nana to misunderstand, thinking he was trying to be lewd. She pushed him away and shouted, blushing. What nonsense are you talking about? It's clearly not appropriate, okay? Chi Amethyst changed the subject, pointing to the jade pendant and asking, Where did you get this spiritual stone? Joe Nana breathed a sigh of relief when she understood what Chi Amethyst was talking about, thinking, So he was referring to the jade pendant on my chest? Please make yourself clear. Joe Nana explained that this was customized at her family's jade factory. Chi Amethyst stared intently at the jade pendant, making Joe Nana feel a little embarrassed, and she turned her head away. If you like it, I can take you to the factory to have a look, she offered. Chi Amethyst, who didn't seem embarrassed at all, answered seriously, Take me there.